People adjusted files.
How nice of them to share.
Whatever.
I appreciate sharing with me.
I think that's a great idea. Hi, Nance.
Okay, call the meeting to order. All those that can stand, please do so for the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
We're missing Mr. Howie's out of town today. He'll be back next meeting.
All right, motion to approve the agenda.
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. A vote, please.
Mrs. Chenoweth?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Consent agenda approval. Motion, please.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented, excuse me.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
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 Motion carries.
In that consent agenda, I wanted to point out that we have a new zoning board of appeals member, Mike Borg. Mike moved from Milford to Highland, and he served on Milford's zoning board of appeals for 20 years.
Really?
So he has a lot of background in it. And he's taking the place of Jacob Probe, who, it was kind of an interesting thing. Jacob sold his house and then couldn't find another house, so he bought a piece of land, and it turns out you have to reside in Highland. So until he builds his new house, he won't be able to fulfill that position. So this is to Phil Jacobs. If he builds a house in a year and he can come back and retrieve his position, and that was agreed upon with Mr. Borg. And so I think Mike will be a good addition to the ZBA, so we're not gonna have a gap. All right, announcements and inquiry. Trick or treat hours are from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Can you guys stay out that late? Okay.
Only
No
for
curfews
Halloween.
these days.
It's only for Halloween.
That's October 31st, 2019. There's a special election is November 5th. The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Offices will be closed on Monday, November 11th, 2019, in observance of Veterans Day. So next item is public comment. Anybody have a public comment?
Well, I have another announcement we should put on there. The clerk's office is open the Saturday before the election, November 2nd, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's due to the law that was passed last year. So people can come in and get their ballots for absentee that day if they want.
All right.
Public comment.
Public comment?
There'll be a schedule published of Veterans Day activities. VFW right at this moment is going to take care of the salute in the Highland Memorial Park, which would be about 11 o'clock. I won't be here. I've got another event to be somewhere else. So far that's scheduled.
Okay.
And some of that will be published in the paper. All the different things we surface, so people are aware of those things. But Tom Oldesvik, VFW, will be in charge of that.
Okay.
All right.
If something changes, I'll call.
All right. Any other public comment? All right, we'll move on. Item 8. This is a public hearing at 6:36. We'll open the public hearing to reprogram 2017 and 2018 community development block grant funds, and the use of those funds.
You know what? We didn't ask if there was any public comment, did we?
I did.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's what we were just doing.
Sorry.
The request is the recommendation is to reprogram those funds to put in a generator, stationary generator at the activity center, which will improve the availability in case of emergencies and that type of thing, instead of trying to use this
monstrosity.
gen set that we have out back that can't even get the plug in there, so, you can get it, but it's a nightmare. So anyways, public hearings open, any, public comment?
Going once.
All right, we'll wait for all the people to come in. No, it's not happening. So, public comment is closed at 6:37. The next item would be new business, and it's to approve resolution 19-29, request to reprogram 2017 and 28 CDBG funds. So do I have a motion to approve?
I would move to approve resolution 19-29 to reprogram 2017 and 18 CDBG funds.
Support?
Moved and supported. Vote please.
I vote yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're screaming through this. Do you wanna talk about these other things for a moment before we go into the budget thing, or wait till after the budget?
I don't know. Do you wanna talk about the calendar?
Okay.
Okay.
So we were throwing around a little bit about, talking about just changing our board meeting day. Had a little bit of conversation here, about changing it to Monday. Mary Pat, maybe you wanna talk a little bit about how it worked for the schools?
Well,
when
I
you
was
changed
just
from
saying, yeah,
Thursdays?
that, and this was internal, so this has nothing to do with what the public felt, but internally, we changed our board meetings from Thursday nights to Monday nights. And because I was one that prepared the agendas, I found that it worked out much better for me. We still prepared our agenda on the same day, but we had less days than between, from Friday to the following Thursday to make changes or additions and amendments to it. When we just had it Monday night, it was over and done, and it worked out really well that way. And I didn't feel that, we did not get any repercussions or anything from the public on that, so I don't know, and the board members, they're the ones that wanted that change also, and, worked out very well when we made the change.
I mean, I kinda started the conversation just because of personal reasons. I have another thing that I could be doing on Wednesday night, but it's up to the board. I mean, it's my first obligation is here. But,
Yeah, I had other things that I canceled on Wednesdays for all these years now, just 'cause I can't go.
right,
So I would be amenable to Monday, just subject to looking to see what holidays may impact that. And I think we can peruse the calendar and you know, things like President's Day, you know, I don't know if those things have impact, but we should look at the general. And you wanna do that real
Sure.
quick, or?
No, well, we're not voting on the calendar tonight, it's just for discussion.
Okay, well, I mean, at a quick glance, we could see what
Right.
Mondays are impacted.
Are the school board meetings still Monday night?
You know, they are, and one other thing I forgot to say, the main reason that drove that with the school board is they found that they were missing their kids' school activities, which is the same thing that other people have been saying. And we found that on Monday nights, they didn't have many school activities for them to miss, that most of the other things seemed to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights.
Yeah.
And, you know, board members all had children in the district and they wanted to
Sure.
attend their things, and that's what started that whole discussion there.
Add
But yes, they still are. I
Add
think-
grandchildren to that.
There you go. So,
too.
Do you know which Monday night they meet, which?
I think they're the first and the third. They have twice a month. It's either the first and the third. I can't remember right now. I'd have to look and see. But yeah, because it would be nice not to be on the same night as theirs. Just
agreed.
You know,
I'm pretty
when
sure that
possible.
there's only the one, if we did the, one of the things that we're thinking about the newspaper is that by having, if we can pick the right date, then it would work better so that the newspaper gets new news instead of having to wait for 30 days or 20 days. So my thought was if we did pick the last Monday of the month, then that would give the paper a full week to get their stuff together. Now, literally meeting the last Monday, so there are some 5-week months in there.
Yeah, there are 5.
And so Mary Pat pointed out that Memorial Day would be the last Monday would be the 25th, so we would have to pick a different date on that one, probably the 18th or something. But
What happens with the 3rd Monday? Is there any
I'm trying to
conflicts?
see when school board meetings are.
I'm trying to too, and it's just not
No,
moving.
Yeah, you gotta get to, it's not.
yeah, if you
apply.
did the third,
It's
if you
just
did the
not
third
moving.
Monday, now once again,
This
we're trying to
one here,
communicate
yeah.
with the public. Now you've put 3 weeks into a story that, you know, is it's old news. And I think it'd be very nice if we could kind of make that connection and take advantage of the paper to get people to be more timely. I mean, that is one of the assets of having a paper. The disadvantage is that we only get them once a month, sometimes twice a month, depending on the number of weeks. But that would be, I'd be willing to go with that one. So
Well, the only conflict I see with the 4th Monday is Memorial Day, looking at a calendar with holidays.
yeah, that one we would do like the third Monday or something.
And then maybe in December do the same thing, so you're not in between Christmas and New Year's.
Right.
Well, why don't you just go with the third Monday then?
Well.
Same thing with
We
June.
think, we're thinking the schools might meet that night, so we're trying not to conflict with them.
And just not that this should,
Here's a
sorry.
problem.
No, go ahead, what was that?
Martin
Okay.
King Day,
Um,
President's Day.
Tree lighting's the first Monday of every December. So the first Monday this year is December 2nd. So, and I know you guys like to participate in that.
Well, I think that the last Monday, I think, to me, like I said, it gives a better relationship with the paper. Bookkeeping
It's
has
the
a
first
better
and the
opportunity
third.
to be able
It is the
to
first and the third. Okay.
Yeah, it's the 4th and the 18th of,
be
First
more
and the
up to
third,
date.
okay.
Right, if we do it in the first half of the month, then it's less likely that the reports will be done in time for our meeting.
Mm.
But if we're in the second half of the month, it's much more likely that the reports can be ready.
yeah, it's
For
first and
inclusion.
third.
Okay.
Well, I think the 4th Monday is good, and we
Yeah.
just have to, other than Memorial Day, that would be the only,
Last Monday.
Memorial Day is always the
Well, if we just say
last-
the 4th, we can always, if something falls on that, we can change it rather than the
Memorial Day is the
last.
last Monday in May, and this year,
Right.
this
Well,
year.
there's,
Because sometimes there's 5
1,
Mondays.
2,
There's at least 3
3,
months that
4,
there's 5, I think.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the months they fall on the last Monday.
Okay.
That's why I was using the term last Monday, and with the exception being May and December.
That's fine, whatever. I just would rather it did not fall on the 1st or the 3rd when there are school board meetings. I think it's best to work around that.
Memorial Day is the only obstacle on the 4th Monday, by glancing at this calendar here. December is the 28th, that's not, unless we're not having anything.
We're just gonna try and keep
That's
it
why
out of,
we
in
said, so
between.
December and May would be the
Exceptions.
exceptions.
So what day would we want the agenda published? If we had a Monday meeting, would,
The Friday, 2 Fridays before.
2 Fridays.
No.
before. How about the Thursday instead of Friday? Could you do it on Thursday? Would that be too inconvenient?
we can do whatever. 2 Fridays is probably not an option, but, I just wanna make sure you guys feel like you have enough time to review it.
I think Thursday before's great.
I think Thursday's great. Then you have the whole weekend too, because mostly.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Alright, we'll, put together a schedule for the next agenda.
Okay,
Right, good.
that's awesome.
We'll have Brian here too, he can
Wednesday,
put his 2 cents in there.
do something that I haven't done.
All right, so let's move on to the budget workshop. Everybody's got a copy of the
Do you want me
budget
to
in
talk
front
about
of
this?
them.
So what changed from this one that is handed out for what was in the packet?
It's the same.
It's got a different date on it.
It was printed on a different date. The date updates automatically.
Did we
There
change
was,
something in, capital improvement?
There was an item,
Did we move money around in capital improvement at all, or we were just gonna talk about that
Let me
tonight?
check the numbers.
Not to my knowledge.
So just a print date, basically.
I said we didn't. No, we didn't move money around.
I got one printed out yesterday and still have the 18th date on it. So, general fund matches between what was in the packet and what was handed out.
Look at page by page.
Oh, the 400,000.
So,
The comma was in the wrong place.
just the
Um,
comma. So on page 7, at the bottom, transfer in from capital improvements, the number budgeted didn't change, but the comment, I used to have the comma in the wrong place, so that
Said
was correct.
40,000, so we corrected it.
No, it said,
4 million.
there's the right number of zeros,
Yeah, yeah, it reads as 40,000, but it's,
only if your
Reading the
thousand has
comma,
4
yeah.
zeros.
so we corrected that.
That was just the comment,
That
not
was
the-
actually caught today.
The comment section.
And the other thing that's different is, I think we got everybody included now.
And what everybody was in general before, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about like
Police,
DDA
fire,
and police
DDA,
fire, okay.
yep. Library is already in there. Did you find anything about that permanent millage for the library? Did you,
No changes, other than the one
The
comment.
millage, is that what you're
the
talking about?
one I told you about for, Highland Township? The
No.
permanent to-
No, I didn't even look at,
Okay.
write that down.
Okay, anybody have any questions on the budget?
On page 2, I noticed you decreased the amount for legislative fees and travel. And I don't think 6,000 was that unreasonable, it's only $1,500 a piece for trustees, so I'd like to see that back to 6,000.
I think the reason it was reduced is it hasn't been being used. I have no objection to increasing it.
But yeah, it just hasn't been used in the last few years.
And if we don't use it, we don't use it.
Well, you may get new board members next year, and
That's, well,
they will want to use it more.
Well, we can do a budget amendment if we use it.
I mean,
Or-
2,000 isn't gonna break the bank.
No.
And they're not gonna, I mean, if new board members come in, they'll be sworn in November 20th. They're not gonna spend money before the end of the year.
Yeah, they do. They offer classes, MTA offers classes in December for new board members.
The year that I ran, the first year I ran, you know, August kind of determines what you're going to be, and they
Sure.
offered some excellent classes, Michigan State Planner classes, right down at Oakland County, we could take them, and we took them between August and November before we were even sworn in.
Nice.
There were 3 of us that took those classes, and they were very helpful. I'm just saying, you know, so that, sometimes that does happen.
Let's just
Well,
put it back
I
to
support
six.
just,
So, just for reference, so far this year, we've spent $1,600.
Yeah.
That's okay. So you don't spend it, you don't spend it. What do
Your
you-
suggestion is what, Mary?
Well, we'll
Leave
just
it
put it back to the
leave it
6,000.
Why not?
Don't have a problem. All right. Everybody agrees with that at this point?
I'm okay with it.
6,000
Mhm.
dues and education travel? I've got it 24,000.
On the page 8, we have that 400,000 for the Highland Hills paving.
Page 8,
Yeah, it's in the topic. I was just wondering, have we heard anything more? I mean, I haven't personally heard anything about that. And when did, I mean, if that's not determined, isn't it by January or something? Like
I'm sure
90
they have a-
days or?
We have Neighborhood Network Community Roundtable on Monday night,
Oh, okay,
and one of the things on the agenda is an update from Highland Hills to see where they're at.
okay, cool, thank you.
And you're welcome to come to that meeting if you want.
Thank you.
Did you, I don't know where they're at.
On
with
page
petitions.
3, you have increased assessing duties. Is that related to the new assessors that we have on board?
Say that again, Mary, you had 3, we had what?
You're increasing the
Circle two.
clerical wage for increased assessing duties. Is that related to the new assessing contract we have?
No, that's an increase in wages to, our in-house.
I know, but it says increased duties.
Yep.
So this is going above and beyond the 3% that everybody's getting?
Yes.
Okay, then on page 4, under senior center activity, I'm wondering why we need a new position for IT support. Don't they get IT support from the same ones we do? Or what's that involved, or why are we doing that?
Well, that was Heidi's terminology, and it's not,
Yeah, I don't really like that, and I had suggested a change to that name of that. Basically, she wants someone to do work on their newsletter and website and, you know, a lot of the computer-related work for them. And
So
she
it's a clerical
calls it
position.
IT support.
yeah, clerical is more appropriate.
It's like
Change
communications.
the word. Change the account.
I kind of thought of it as a communications position myself.
Well, that
I'll go
would
with
also-
that terminology.
Yeah, it's not internet service, that's for sure.
Well, that's what it sounds like, that's
Yeah,
why I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, it can't be internet. And computer support services. You're still looking for a name?
Communications, I think.
All right, communications. We can make computer communications. All right, we need to vote on it, or we're just putting it down?
We'll change it, and then when we do the final vote on it,
All right,
it should be at the next board meeting.
okay.
On page 5, the community roundtable, and then we have for community signs. What does that mean exactly? Is that,
Is that welcome signs, Rick,
Yeah,
right?
oh, okay.
that's
What?
the, gateway signs.
The new welcome signs.
Where,
Page 5?
no, where's the sign gonna be?
Oh,
At the
West.
entranceways to the, we have the old signs at the entranceways to the township.
on M59, right?
So
Yeah.
M59,
159,
Milford
150
Road,
So you're replacing them, or you're putting new ones up? or-
replacing them, yeah. We can put 3 up.
There's one that's like brand new
East,
that
east,
White
west,
Lake
and
put up
and
because
south.
somebody
East, west, and south.
Oh,
right?
that one.
crashed it.
That's what we have right now. We could potentially look at doing something on North End too. That's another gateway. And really, Hickory Ridge is also a very common way to enter and exit the township.
Yeah.
So
They drive too fast on that road to even see
I don't
them.
think it's been specifically nailed down exactly what the plan's gonna be.
No.
It's just,
We're just budgeting for it so that we can, take it to the,
So we're not prepared to redesign or re-implement yet?
we're just putting some money in the budget for it.
Okay, yeah, okay, but we haven't a design yet, or
Nope.
thoughts on it? Okay.
Nope.
So this is just preparatory?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I would agree, I think, you know, the signs that are in east and west are kind of, I'll say ancient, but they're,
They are.
probably use a facelift,
Big blend.
especially when,
They're tired.
the Heartland one.
That's a
was
good way to put it.
And they
These
don't
all
represent our
typograms.
new,
They don't reflect the
and-
logo, yeah.
So, I think that'd be a good use for it.
Kind of match the new road, right?
On that same page, under township maintenance, you jumped at 10,000. What do you have planned for that?
Township maintenance.
Which one, Mary, sorry?
It's at the top, it's like
So
the
it's about
fifth
the
thing down.
fifth or sixth line down.
Okay, got it.
Let's see what we spent.
That's, parking lot stuff. We've got, some parking lot, you know, like crack sealing, we did crack sealing over at the park and, although that should fall under the Duck Lake Pines Park, but,
Oh, it's at Duck Lake.
Well, that should be under the park, shouldn't it?
yeah, let me think on that one here for a minute, because there was a reason we did
Because I
that.
think you have stuff in the park also.
Yeah, we had talked about, you mentioned that a couple times about the cracks in the tennis courts and all that.
Right.
Is there another category for that besides township maintenance, or is that just general maintenance maybe? Property maintenance?
Yeah,
Where's my old one? Maybe I wrote on it.
doesn't matter to me.
Did you have any projects in mind for the annex
Oh,
or activity center?
I think that the reason we did that was to do something with that road next to the
Oh,
senior center, or the activity center there.
Oh,
Cause
Oh,
that
that's
thing
pretty
is
good.
a nightmare.
I like it, it's nice, keeps speeders down.
it's a,
For sure,
No, it doesn't.
it's a mess.
Yeah, it needs to be dressed up and cleaned up, it would be nice to get, especially that we've got the new roads coming in, and it'd be nice to have that.
Yeah, well, that's what that's
Aesthetically,
for, so.
Kinda like a sound road, but aesthetically it would look nice to. Maybe put a nice sign there that says Highland Activity Center too, so.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
so I just wanna point out that, transportation fund is not on here any longer because now WODA will be starting January 1st, so we don't budget for that other than our contribution that will go to WODA.
What will it be identified as where it is registered? An expense item or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's on here, on page 5, so down here.
Okay, there it is. Good.
So we'll be ending activities in our transportation fund December 31st. There may be some minor carryover things, reimbursements. Hopefully they'll all get in before the end of our accrual period, but we'll see how that
60
shakes
days.
out.
Is this something that'll be like a one lump sum payment to the fund, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
so WODA begins January 1st
Yep.
financially.
right.
Okay.
Right now, they're like an air guitar.
You had talked about the Highland Hills paving, a couple times.
Just kinda
We were
floating
talking
around
about
in
that
space.
Highland Hills paving, we had talked about that before, and that discussion.
So under police fund, looks like you're gonna be doing some maintenance stuff over there, or upgrades?
Yeah, I'm looking at some furniture, and I'm also looking at our video systems for our interview rooms and, around our building. This year I had to do lockers and a break room upgrade, and we had to do a budget amendment, so.
Can
trying
you
to
just
plan
talk,
ahead
yeah,
here.
talk a little louder, please? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Are ya?
Yeah.
This year we did a break room, you know, we upgraded our break room and we did lockers and we had to do a budget amendment. So I'm just planning ahead. So we do still need, some furniture replaced and we need our, camera system looked at, being upgraded.
But the reserve equipment is for the, reserve officers?
Right.
Yeah.
On page 11, when we're talking about, the refuse fund expenses, and that $4,000 we put in there just in case it was needed for things that they didn't pick up. Has anything come out of that so far? It looks like, oh wait a minute, it would be on this page. Have we used that, Phil? Mm-mm. Not that I know.
Not a
Just
lot.
curious. And
Let
then,
me see if there's anything in there.
and I also, on that, do we list separately, I was looking to see like when we have the hazardous waste day, is that listed separately on here?
That's at 45,000, I think.
Oh, okay.
'Cause then we
Community
don't do it
service
every year,
project, is
so-
that, right, it's every 18 months, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's what I was looking for, I didn't recognize that title, thank you.
So the third-party expenses year-to-date through August 31st was, $1,190.
And we're gonna get that back from the refuse company, correct?
I'm not sure what the status of that is.
Well, that was what I understood to be the agreement.
Well, that's how it works out. We get 1,120,465 in revenue. So that covers that.
But they were supposed to, the company, when we talked about this at the meeting, I thought they would pay that back. If we paid that out to a third party, they were going to,
Oh,
we would take it out of our
yeah.
payment to them?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to share. Funny story about that, because I've been subbing the last 2 months in maintenance and operations at Huron Valley. And a person from Highland Elementary School kept calling over and saying that they just had their dumpsters emptied and a pickup truck kept coming and filling it. And when they asked him about it, he said, well, the township told me I can,
Yeah, it's right over here.
right, I know, there was a mix-up though. What they were told to put it in is the township trash, and he mistook
in
it
the
for
schools.
that, yes, and, so they were telling, yeah, township said we could put it in your dumpster, so. Wow. And I'm sitting there shrinking because I'm thinking, no, we wouldn't do that. I think they called the police department that morning
Sorry
too.
about that.
They called you.
Refuse is
Left and
definitely
came
one
right
of
back
the,
again.
the stranger things that we engage in. It's very hard to understand how, I'd say the violent reaction to a missed pickup or
Oh my gosh,
It's violent.
some debris on the ground or something, you know, it's just as, I understand that, you know, sometimes they drop stuff and, or the can falls over, you know, or whatever, but, for the amount of money that we charge, it's just hard for me to believe that, you know, you can't even buy anything at McDonald's for that price, you know. And you can get a week's worth of anything hauled away for $360, $70, whatever it is, a week.
I'm surprised too. You see, most people have their 2 cans or whatever out there, and then you see somebody that has piles and piles of loose stuff that has to all be picked up, and
Ugly job.
it's amazing. Yeah, I know.
All right, any more questions?
Yeah, on, page 13, at the top, it says sewer anticipation expense, what is that?
Hold on a second.
Second line, top 13.
That's for, what we're gonna be starting that actually this fall, developing, working with the engineers to move the sewer conversation forward. So that anticipation expense is the engagement of the engineers to come up with real numbers for estimates on what it's gonna cost. And we do have a pretty good plan of, where the system would go. And it's not really any different than the original one we had with Humble, Roth and Clark in terms of who gets accessed, except there's no sewage plant in Highland.
So we paid for that report to be done, right? We paid engineers for that report.
Yes, we paid them for that
Can
stuff
the
that they
board
did.
see that? I mean, I'd like to see a copy of the report.
Yeah, I can get you a copy.
I mean, the whole board should be able to,
Sure.
should have had that. So, kind of important.
So, and those numbers at that time were just, out of the hat, like the engineers typically do on an initial thing. If everything is perfect, this is the
So we're moving more
the
towards
cost. So there's
actual event now.
there's some stuff that decisions that would have to be made, and part of it is how does it get to where it's going to go. If you go through White Lake, you'll pay for White Lake on top of paying Commerce, so it adds costs that direction. If you go directly to Commerce, you skip the additional issues that you'll have by passing through another community. Also would force changes in the design of White Lake system to handle the additional flow. So those are the numbers that are gonna have to be recalculated in terms of, especially where does the effluent take its path to Commerce? You can go down Duck Lake Road, or which has no taps whatsoever on it, or you can take it down Milford Road and go Reed Road, which doesn't, it's been cut off by the railroad, and get to Cooley Lake Road, where you'd have to connect up with a lot less state land.
Has some of this work already been kind of done in that first
Yeah,
quote? Okay.
yeah.
Sidebar real quick, and if you give me like a 15-second answer. I'm very happy with the management of the road redesign so far. A couple questions that have come up. Where is the runoff water going? I mean, they're cutting a pretty good valley in there. It looks like it's gravity going somewhere. Do you know, is it just gonna dissipate, or is it gonna be like a retention area?
There are some areas that are designed as retention areas. There's some ponds where a lot of the flow will go.
Okay,
Like the pond right over here takes a lot of water off of the.
okay, so there is a plan in place,
Yeah.
ponds and a retention.
I'm not sure, I was gonna ask, I'm not sure why they cut such a deep,
Well,
but I think, one of the things I had heard from somebody was that if they left it shallow, what happens is it doesn't drain the road base good enough because they're cutting deeper than they were before. And they wanna keep the road base dry, so that's why you see all that fabric
They
and.
have the secondary little sub-drains
Yeah.
coming in. Okay.
And then the other thing is that if you leave it too shallow, then you end up having to put up restrictive barriers to stop cars from out of control going across.
Yeah,
And I think you go in that ditch now and your headlights are gonna slam into the opposite side. It's pretty steep. So this will be interesting come wintertime to see how many vehicles get captured in the
on the V.
Venus flytrap there that they put
Well,
in.
just a quick answer, people keep asking me, and
Yeah.
I said it could be retention, it's going somewhere, okay, there's a design there, and I just didn't know how to answer it, so, okay, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Yeah, the key thing is depth of the base for the road is radically increased. And
Right.
they've finally figured out that if there's no water in there, it can't freeze and heave.
Right,
And that's the object behind it, pull all the water out and get it away from it. So that's why there's so much evacuation area for it.
okay,
I know there's a lot of people who have said, how am I gonna mow that? Because it's at the maximum steepness. We may have some ditches that don't get mowed.
okay, well, we'll move back on that, I didn't mean to.
All right, no, that's good.
I saw the word sewer, and that's been, several people have asked me about that, and I wanna just give them some kind of a reasonable answer, so, okay, good. Thank
Right.
you.
Anything else?
Just on the DDA budget, under the director, it says that there's an increase that reflects medical allowance. Is that something the DDA voted on
Yes.
to give her? And the new line items, it doesn't say what it's for.
That was professional, new line item was professional services.
Do you know?
And
50
Amy's
the
not
first-
here, so we didn't apply a
Oh, a number or anything?
to it.
Yeah.
Got it.
That 5,700 just says new line item, but it doesn't say for what.
So what we should do is get, the DDA budget the version that they passed,
Okay,
and so we can forward that out to the board.
okay.
I mean,
Okay.
realistically, they have authority over their own budget. The only reason we have it in here is
We
because
do the bookkeeping.
we manage their bookkeeping,
So
so.
those numbers will be.
But we
just
can get that
replacing
information.
Yeah, with that, it's, to do with, we need more help with projects and such. We need to, like she said, talk with Amy to find out what we're gonna call it. It's not gonna be professional services.
Just send me your budget that you presented to your board,
Okay,
and then I'll
alright,
forward that out to them.
alright.
Like the last page. Chief, you want to pitch in anything here? Do you have anything you'd like to discuss with your budget?
Unless you got any questions on it, it's pretty well noted on the side of what, any changes or any increases or anything we're doing different next year.
Okay, on page 13, just curious, what is SCABS?
A typo, it's SCBA's, self-contained breathing apparatus.
Okay, thank you.
Part of the intention behind the capital millage was to pay for the fire station construction, vehicle replacement schedule, as well as large capital purchases. Each air pack is approximately $8,000 a piece, so it's kind of a large capital purchase. And then we have a lot of tanks that are going out of the ability of being hydrostated this year, so the intention is to buy 2 air packs and then replace the tanks that are gonna be without the pasture, so to say.
Yeah, the last thing you want to see is a tank like that fail at full pressure.
Yep. And they're 4,500 PSI.
Can take out a
Really
fire
nice
truck.
buy.
Thank you.
That's a bomb.
Yep.
Yep. A friend of mine worked for GM. They did, and he was in charge of the alternative fuels, and they were doing some work up in Canada, and they had come up with a new design for a tank, which was carbon fiber and it was wound. You know.
Yep.
And they do their testing without the natural gas in it, but with just compressed air. And that tank at 4,000 PSI, a tank exploded, it destroyed, completely shredded a pickup truck to where it was almost unrecognizable and killed a person.
We
By
actually
having
have
a
a
flaw in
We
the
have a
tank.
special container inside of our station that we place the tanks in while we're filling them because of that purpose. We could get caught with debris or structural collapses where there could be a gouge in any of the tanks. You stick them in the fill station to fill them and there's a failure. If we didn't have the specially designed fill station, we'd be in big trouble, so
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure.
Anything else?
So, you have a paper in front of you,
Now let's talk about the,
some quotes for salary and benefit analysis. Just one idea we kinda chatted about last budget workshop. And the cost is pretty high.
There should be another one on here. I must have printed the wrong thing. There's another bid on there that I thought I added this afternoon from Trust Benefits for $8,000. So there's 2 bids on there for $8,000.
Some trust benefits.
Trust, Trest.
I kinda like the first one where it says 9,500 plus expenses.
I'm in the wrong business.
Isn't that 9,500 an expense? And that's for 8,000, Judy?
Yes. And it was in before the 18th. So just something to think about if you wanna move forward on that. And on the top is everything that would include. That's how we put it out. Didn't you say Milford did it a couple years ago?
Mhm. Theirs came in, I think their total cost was between 8,000 and 9,000.
Was it?
Yeah, they started with one organization and then the work wasn't getting finalized in a very timely manner, so then they switched to another company to do the final work, and so that's how it came out to be.
Was that just the township, or was that the township and the village?
Just township.
Does that include police or fire?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because I mean, there's like 8 employees,
Right.
where we have like 24.
Any comment on this concept?
Big spread between the,
Oh, the costs are crazy.
somebody
To
must
go
be
from
really
8,000 to
busy or doesn't
30?
want the job. What do we know about any
It's
of
a
these
flat
folks? Have we
fee.
used them before?
No.
No,
Brand new
and
people.
they all send in like references and. I
Any
mean,
local references? Are they local businesses or?
So the one that's on here
I think.
between the 8,000 and 9,000 is who Milford Township ended up using
Okay.
to get their project completed.
What was their satisfactory?
They were
thoughts?
happy.
Happy, okay.
Would this information be given to all, for the community, like on the webpage and given for the community, or is it just for the board's sake, you know?
Well, we'd probably put it in a packet. I mean,
it would be in a board.
it's not confidential,
Okay.
and we could certainly post it on the website.
I just wonder, you know, I hate to spend more money on it, but if it would just be a way to justify to people too, I don't know,
And that's why we went out for it. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's always probably the biggest question on the
Mhm,
budget
mhm.
is, what about increases? What about the benefits? Are they
Mhm.
fair? Are they comparable? Well,
I mean, really, how would you know?
you just don't.
Well, I think it's a good idea. I mean, that way we're out of the picture. I don't wanna be in the picture of, you know, gone through those nightmares already. I don't want to be part of that. I don't, 30,000 is ridiculous, I think.
I agree.
I would definitely rule out 30 and 22 and 22. What other references did the,
So why don't we,
Ramberg have?
I mean, we can,
put something in the next packet if you guys wanna pursue this and give all the detail on the lower quotes, depending on what you wanna see. If you wanna see all the detail on all of these, we can give you that.
we have it, yeah.
Are they Michigan-based?
Some,
Okay.
the first one is Illinois,
Well, you know,
second one's Virginia, third one's Midland, Michigan.
third one.
That's the $30,000 one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. This one is Brighton.
Which one's Brighton?
Brighton is
Municipal?
municipal consulting,
It's 13.
so 13.
Ramberg?
Romberg, you probably don't have, cause that was the quote that I had solicited after talking with Milford.
Okay. Raymond Robson?
Raymond is Grand Rapids. Sage is, where's Sage? Come on, where are you? I don't know where Sage is from. The internet, no.
I mean, I say that because unless something's really radically wrong, it'd be nice to stay with at least a Michigan-based company.
Absolutely, I agree.
Unless we have some logical reason that somebody's a superhero in
Ramberg, Stover and Associates is Birmingham,
the, who is
Birmingham, Michigan.
Ronberg.
Birmingham, okay.
Ramberg.
Sage is Livonia.
Sage is Livonia, okay.
That's 22,000, so.
And Trust Benefits is Texas.
Texas?
Texas.
And that first one was where?
Texas. The first one, Gov HR, is Illinois, Northbrook, Illinois.
So are their expenses gonna include
Driving here.
driving up here, flying
I'm
up
guessing
here,
so,
hotels
yeah.
overnight? That's crazy.
Well, I just think somebody local would have a better handle on the generality of what we do in our communities, Brighton's close, Birmingham, they're at least affiliated with some of the things in our area, so I would recommend that for sure. And,
Which one did Milford's?
Ronberg and Stover and Associates.
From
it was
Birmingham.
definitely a reasonable quote, so it's not
And they were happy with them,
Yeah.
Kim?
I wouldn't pay 30,000, so I would definitely rule that one out. Sage is 22,000, that seems a lot.
Texas, there's
So
no way
I
they're
would,
gonna do
before
it.
like selecting someone, I think we should put it in a packet and
Okay.
give you more detail
Okay,
on
I
it.
would
I'm
appreciate
from,
that.
yeah,
you know,
Yeah, this was just kind of an overview, just to show you that we've done it and
okay.
to
right, just to see
spur the
your
conversation.
We
interest.
got a starting point, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
And we have the backup, if anybody wants to read it, you're welcome to it.
Well, we could wait till we get it together a little bit.
Trust Benefits is Illinois also.
Oh, really? On their
Yeah.
packet, it says
Which one's
Katy,
the other
Katy,
Illinois?
Texas.
Well, they have several.
Probably have
of them,
several. We put it out on Mitten,
Mhm.
right, so
Right.
there's a lot of people looking at Mitten.
Okay,
I don't
anything
know.
else on that?
Nope, I don't think so.
Before we get away from the calendar discussion, do we still wanna have 2 budget workshops?
Oh, that's a good question.
Next year's calendar? Sometimes it seems like there isn't a lot of discussion, especially in the first budget workshop.
Well, since we don't only do that anyway, I think it doesn't hurt to have two, because the first one is kind of a general overview, and then you get down into the
Nitty-gritty.
details of it the second time, so I think we should stick with two. And like I said, we put everything else on the agenda anyway, so it doesn't matter, you know.
Doesn't make
If
a
there's
difference
not
to me.
much budget
Either
talk,
way,
there's other stuff.
Either way,
Okay.
if it brings some finality or we have more time to massage something along the way, then the second one is really an over review to see if we have it all together, then that would make sense.
We can ask that when we get when we got a full board.
All right,
Great.
so the calendar discussion, is that's gonna come up
Well-
again, or?
This has to be voted on, actually.
Yeah,
The
the next
calendar,
meeting, so.
we'll put on next meetings.
next meeting, okay.
Yeah.
After you kind of detail the calendar, and right now we're thinking of what, this fourth?
Last Monday,
The last Monday or the fourth
the
Monday?
last Monday.
We still gotta check with Brian and see if how
How
much
Mondays
that
The
affects
last
would
Monday
happen.
can bomb around a little bit, so,
Yep, but there's a reason for it.
okay, okay. The fourth Monday is stable, that's why, not what I'm saying.
Yep, the last
I'm
Monday.
okay with the last Monday, that gives, that's okay. There's four January, 4 in February, 5 in March, so, that's okay.
All right.
All right,
Okay. I guess we're, meeting's adjourned.